Next, small item, but not so small. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, if you've paid attention to financial writing, you've seen the city of Seattle come back in a different way, not about voting for an income tax, a different issue. The minimum wage. It turns out a group of economists associated with the University of Washington in Seattle did a study, and it showed, and this was very exciting for the journalists, it showed that if you raise the minimum wage, there will be some workers who will be fired by their employer rather than pay that worker a higher wage. This was thought to be a thunderbolt. 2 weeks earlier, a group of economists at the University of California in Berkeley did a similar study, also focused on Seattle, in which they showed that raising the minimum wage has no discernible effect on employment. And so it went back and forth. There were editorials in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, there were op-eds. Oh, which is it? Is it that we can, like the Democrats want, raise the minimum wage, help those poor people, give them a better wage? Or are the conservatives right by saying, shame on you, stinky liberals. You want to raise the wage. You don't realize it's going to lose work, lose jobs for the people whose wages you raise when they get fired by their employer. Now, it takes a level of credulity that I don't possess to take seriously conservatives who are worried about unemployment of poor people. It's not a position you find them championing terribly often, like never. So what is this about? They don't want the minimum wage to be raised because restaurants and other businesses want to be able to pay dirt low wages. You don't need a PhD for this. But what struck me and what I want to bring home is that professional economists, people like me, are spending huge amounts of time debating whether we could or should raise the minimum wage, whether or not there'll be some people fired. What? If you give a happy damn about these people, you'll raise their wage and give them a job. What do you do? If private people lay you off because they're not going to give you $8 an hour instead of $7.25, then if you give a damn, the government comes in and hires them, which is what we did in the 1930s for millions of people. The economists ought to be working out how do you give people a decent wage and give them a job, because that's what our profession ought to be doing. But no, we are debating whether we should raise the minimum wage, lose a few jobs, or keep those jobs but give them nothing for it. You know what this is like? This is like walking down a dark alley where you know you shouldn't be, and suddenly what you feared accosts you, a nasty-looking fellow who says to you, I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to get your wallet. I'm either going to get it by stabbing you, or I'm going to get it by shooting you. But it's your choice. Now imagine a person who starts to walk down the alley trying to weigh these two. Right? That kind of person needs a lot of help, because the rational response is, I'm not accepting this choice, Jack. I am going to surprise you because I've got a gun. Here it is. Or whatever you can do. But you're not going to weigh these two because they are equally awful. You're going to try to use your brain to figure out, how do I get out of this situation, not how do I choose between these outrageous impositions.